Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system.
The Earth is a closed system.
We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Alright, let's get into it. Thanks for joining me. Now, there is water above our realm. Without a doubt, after spending years of entertaining the idea, I've come to conclude that what we know as space is a volatile liquid or water. Now, similar to that Hermetic old adage, as above so below, just as mentioned throughout religious scriptures. Now, for those who don't claim a religious tradition like myself, I want to emphasize that these texts are thousands of years old. No matter how much they've been perverted, edited, chopped out, the theme always remains the same, regardless of culture. We need to consider what our ancestors believed. And comparing historical and religious texts is one of the only few tools left to discover the truth about how our ancestors viewed the world. So, it sounds crazy to some, but consider this. If all cultures around the world mention the moon being made of cheese, it will be just as valuable as anything else. Simply because we have to respect our ancestors' view and take them seriously, no matter how much it might contradict our current paradigm. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Thus God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. Of course, there are many other verses that also support this. Alright, so some might criticize the King James translation for the use of the word firmament, but in the original Hebrew version it is called rakia, which translates as the firmament. In the International Version it is called the vault. In the New English Version it is called the expanse. In the Good News Translation it is dome. So, regardless of the name change, what's important to take from this is that the concept of a firmament dividing the waters above from the waters below remains consistent. In the Quran, it's mentioned, "With power and skill did we construct the firmament." There are many other versions that echo this sentiment. Alright, so even taking it at face value, one has to ask themselves why they would even mention it. Be it allegorical or factual, we have to take it into consideration. Alright, so by now, hopefully y'all are caught up on the whole NASA deception. I mean, seriously, it becomes so blatantly obvious that you pretty much have to ignore it or just be completely oblivious to the fact to not see it. So, it becomes evident to come to the conclusion that no rocket, no machine, no person can go beyond low Earth orbit, just like NASA loves to tell you themselves.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to.
The moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot.
We'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
The technologies that we're testing out on Space Station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
And this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth.
Okay, funny enough, NASA admits to training underwater. They claim it's due to the weightlessness and that it resembles space. I mean, come on, just think about it. If it's soft disclosure or just mockery towards the public, I don't know, but check this out.
So many times during spacewalks outside the International Space Station, we can see air bubbles rising up. Can you touch on how there are air bubbles in space?
Can
Can you be more specific? Air bubbles?
So yeah, like a lot of times during the footage, the NASA footage, you can see bubbles coming up out of the helmets or kind of from underneath you. How do you explain bubbles in space?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. You might, now sometimes you get water in the helmet, and it comes, it's either you know, from sweat or from the cooling garments. And you know, in some of my spacewalks, I had like water in the helmet, not like I was going to drown in the helmet, but just little bits of water probably came from sweat. Often outside of the space station, you'll liberate little pieces of, you know, it's a really harsh environment out there, and the outside of the space station gets beat up pretty good. And sometimes, you know, you'll see just little flecks of paint or something that you might have disrupted floating away from the suit. And, you know, that's generally what that is. I've never seen any kind of air bubble anywhere.
Yeah. Could it be that you're filming in an underwater pool and you're not really out there? All right, well, I just encourage everyone to look up bubbles in space, #bubbles in space. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, now if that's not a big enough red flag for you guys, let's take the moon landings into consideration. So, NASA was founded in 1958, and 11 years later, from NASA not having Jack, they were able to land to the moon. From 69 to 72, they went to the moon supposedly 5 times. And now it's been 50 plus years, and we haven't gone back since. And just as Don Pettit likes to state, we lost that supreme technology.
Go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
See, it was never real. People believed it happened because they were watching a camera filming a projection screen on their televisions. It wasn't even the actual footage of their phone. The original 700 tapes, along with all the other data of up to $30 billion, were all conveniently lost. As obvious as that is, and despite all those red flags, so many people are still reluctant to give up this fairy tale. And it's not so much about the moon landing being faked, but the revelation that comes with it. If they can fake the moon landing and lie about that, they can lie about anything. This broken model of reality that is contrary to our senses has permeated everything. It's precisely this absurdity that makes it possible for people to believe in any psyops that it follows. The stupidity they provide goes on, and it's not just here or there, it's everywhere you look. A psyops is only needed for those incapable of discerning the truth for themselves. Simple observations are the key to decoding psyops, and one either sees through it or they don't. Let's recap here. So there's a hard facet boundary above our heads which is echoed as the firmament. I can comfortably make a statement that space is liquid. Of course, you can't physically prove it. However, through continued observation, we can see this in the stars. They resemble light within water, such as the bottom of a pool. If it were really atmospheric pollution or light distortion like so many like to parrot, then why do all the stars display their own unique geometry, their own light patterns? See, the stars are pockets of sonoluminescence in the waters above. Sonoluminescence is the emission of short bursts of light from imploding bubbles in a liquid when excited by sound. So in simple terms, the energy of a sound wave in a fluid can create flashes of light. Due to sound frequencies, beautiful patterns occur on the surface of an object closely surrounding the sound vibration medium. Cymatics is vibrational phenomenon. Beautiful patterns are created within water and sand when sound is applied, which resembles exactly what we see in our stars. They're self-illuminating, radiating their own light and frequencies in the water above. The planets themselves were always known as celestial bodies or wandering stars. They were always considered to have influence on worldly affairs and including the personalities of man. Their significance to life is far more occult than what we may realize. Their paths deviate from the fixed stars we see rotating in the heavens above us, which can be seen in time-lapse footages of Polaris. So, hypnosis and inversion is the name of the game. People tend to get divided into the schism of this or that, globe, flat. Personally, I don't really subscribe to any of it. I can genuinely tell you that I know we're not on a spinning ball. However, I believe that labels start to muddy the waters, and I think this realm is actually something nobody can properly conceive. I think it's well beyond our comprehension. So with that said, the main fact is there's no evidence provided for our modern cosmology. Their primary goal is to create an image of reality and make people believe it's actual reality. They have hundreds of thousands of members. They have all the time, resources, and money they need. They know who they are, and they know who we are. With this lie of heliocentrism so ingrained into the masses, people aren't able to think unbiased about it. There's not a topic that invites more cognitive dissonance, which really is in itself telling. Although without realizing where we are and where we aren't, there's no way to go forward into a meaningful and peaceful life on Earth. So with that said, I'm not going to try to convince you or prove to you anything. If you're seeing all those clips, you should at the very least question the narrative provided by your controllers. A spinning water ball Earth planet racing through empty vacuum space is an antithesis to life itself. It's the perfect metaphor for darkness, and everyone who sincerely, without a doubt, believes it is attracted to darkness to a significant extent. Space as water is also endlessly encoded in movies, media, language, numerology, astrology, and imagery, aimed at the population in a non-obvious way, subliminally. It is also an idea in many cultures, myths, and traditions. It's no coincidence of a firmament being mentioned throughout cultures' cosmologies. The firmament is connected to catastrophes that have always been recorded throughout the ages. What society calls myths and legends are in fact ancient history, and woven in various myths are celestial events. What we know as the Great Flood or Deluge can be found throughout almost every culture's mythologies. Egyptian, Mayan, Germans, Aztec, Vikings, Chinese, Hindu, and many more. If the masses were to realize of all the cultural similarities of a flood falling from the sky, they would no longer be able to impose their false heliocentric theories on us. Now, the encoded water space memes are also overwhelming. Once you learn to see with your own eyes and understand what mainstream information is and how to decipher it, you'll come to the conclusion that everything we've been taught about space is a lie. With that being said, I'll share with you the concept of space being mainly water. And one more thing, I just want to say I really enjoyed making this short video. Thank all of you who have been watching through Instagram over the years. And also welcome to any new people. I look forward to making these new videos and sharing them with you all, and I hope they help in developing your own ideas. Thanks for all your support. I love you all.
glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.